we're moving into this financial storm or financial nightmare.
Wow.
I'm saying to myself, it's just a matter of time until entities start to go bankrupt, and it's going to expand quicker than they can control it. And because they're so gung ho, before they change their attitude and say, "Hey, we're gonna start opening up the floodgates of money again," the system's gonna suddenly go into this massive deleverage, and there's going to be margin calls all through the system. It's going to freeze. The markets are going to freeze, and it's just a thing where how long and how far out of control is it going to get? Or are they going to be able to unfreeze it or unlock it? Because if they can't unlock it in time, it's going to be SHTF.
I think this guy's right. And he was saying this like 3 years ago, for crying out loud. Yeah, this is a potential danger. I'll tell you guys what's going on right now. Have you ever seen a person, they got their car parked at the top of a hill, you know, and they don't put the parking brake on? So they start talking, chatting with somebody else, and the car starts rolling ever so slowly. They're not noticing it. It's behind them. They didn't see it, you know? But after it rolls a few feet, it starts to get a little bit faster and a little bit faster. The person talking to him taps him on the shoulder. Look, your car! Go get your car! Now, the thing about a car rolling down a hill like that, it's happened to me. I don't know. It's probably happened to you. A lot of people have had this happen to them. An accident. Accident can easily happen, but the thing about it is if you can catch it before it can get too fast going down that hill, you can jump behind the wheel and you can slam your foot on the brake. Stop it. But if it gets going a little bit too fast for you to jump in and get behind the wheel, you're going to lose that car down the hill. It's going to gain momentum faster and faster and faster. This is what the financial system is like right now. Uh, with Wall Street right now, all the markets right now, right at this minute, it's a car that's rolling down the hill now at this point. I watched this last week, a week and a half or so, and I watched them come to the buy the dippers out there. I watched them come in with possibly, I don't know, at least hundreds of billions of dollars at the very least. And buy the dip. One day there, they bought it up 2,900 points on the Dow Jones. The buying the dip, and they got their fingers cut. Can very rapidly change the sentiment in the market. From the market's been bullish for so long, I call it the Teflon market. We've lost probably 50 or 60% of that bullish sentiment. It's just vaporized in the last couple of weeks. You cannot do what you're doing right now. You cannot completely cut trade off with all the merchandise that comes from China. I mean, half of the stuff in Walmart comes from China, for crying out loud, maybe more. Everything, auto parts stores. Do you know how much auto parts is made in China? All these auto parts, different parts. Even the OEM parts are made in everything. Shoes, belts, everything that we dressed in comes from. Honest to goodness, the amount of merchandise that comes from China. American factories aren't up for production yet. I mean, there's a lot of talk of bring the factory production back to the United States, and hey, that's a great idea on paper, but it takes time. You just can't snap your fingers and tomorrow morning you're going to have all the factories making up for the loss of China. Of course, Americans are going to continue to buy Chinese goods until American goods can start to get competitive with Chinese goods. So this has just been done. This tie, a huge tie, has just been, I'm not going to say it can't be mended, but this is absolutely huge. And the markets, they haven't fully priced all this stuff in yet. The markets have been overwhelmed in the last week or two. And they're in a dizzying state of almost like, what are we going to do? Should we go back in and buy the dip, or should we sell everything? They just don't know. They're in a state of turmoil right now where they're not predicting things in a sensible way themselves, because all this has basically shocked them. Shock and awe. It's going to start, I think it's going to start turn down again. Bad reports are going to start to come in from uh, everything from the labor market is going to start looking bad. Consumer consumers are just going to, right now, I can just hear it out there. All the consumers are going to be just dropping back to essential items only. Goods from China are going to double in price. Uh, we're in for a historic pain that's coming up. Bond market's starting to get out of control, and I can see it getting more out of control. We're in for financial turmoil right now. And this is the time that I started my channel for, this period in time right now. This is what I've been predicting. This is the death of the dollar. You know, I can't think of his name right now, but he kind of gave it away back during the Obama administration. He said they're just going to kill the dollar in the end. That's the only solution to this Ponzi scheme, is ultimately in the end, they're just going to kill the dollar. And I think this is in the works. It's going on right now. The death of the dollar is starting to happen. And that once it starts, you're going to see the massive sell-off coming in. Uh, these countries like China are dumping U.S. treasuries. Japan's dumping U.S. treasuries. The Pacific, these are big holders of United States debt. What's the end result of all this is coming about very soon. It's almost like a four-way horse race going on right now, and you got four horses, and it's Kentucky Derby, and it's all a race to the finish line. Which one can destroy us first? So we got these four horses. One horse is um, you got your pandemics. They're racing along, and you got bird flu leading the list on there, trying to mutate into the human population. You've got the environment out there, the second horse, where you got environmental change occurring on a very rapid rate. One of the things that got my eye on the most is the Atlantic Meridian Current. What the uh, was it AMOC? I think they call it. And also, we've got a huge hole in the magnetic sphere of the Earth. And I think it's off the coast of South America someplace, and it's growing larger by the day. And it let radiation in on us to cook us, you know. Um, Plus, we got the possibility of the AMOC shutting down and Europe freezing. You just can't. Millions and millions of people live in Europe. Where are they going to go if the AMOC comes to a stop? It's going to freeze the whole, including where I'm at right here. That's the second horse, in this race. The third horse is war, World War III. That's the obvious third horse. And then we got the fourth horse, the financial system. So any one of these four horses can traumel us, tear up our society that we've built, because it really is. In some ways, our system or society is very resilient. Like, it can take a natural disaster. People will come in from other areas. They'll rebuild. It's very resilient in ways, but in other ways, it's very fragile. So any one of these four horses can knock down our entire civilization, because each one of them is extremely potent. So I've been watching these four horses very carefully, see which one's in the lead, you know? And so times you'll see the bird flu make its way into the human population. I say, oh, it's got the horse racing ahead a little bit. And then the environment, you see a huge hurricane or something. Oh, that horse is moving toward the finish line. And then what happens is then you see the war breaking out in one place after another, and you say, "Oh, that one is really taking the lead right now." What war in Ukraine? You got threatening war in Taiwan. You got threatening war in Iran. Oh, I think that one's really taking the lead. So I'm sitting there watching that horse very carefully. I'm thinking it's going to cross the finish line first and get us. And then all of a sudden, from the back, in the pack of the horses, you see one horse moving ahead right now. So my attention's switched off of the war horse, not looking at that anymore. Now I'm looking at the financial horse, the financial system, because all of a sudden it's starting to move up through the pack really fast. You know? But those two horses seem to be almost neck and neck. War and the financial, and it seems like one spurs the other one on. Maybe they're brother horses or something, and maybe they got a competition between the two of them to see which one can get to the finish line first. Anyway, I'm thinking to myself that maybe the financial system one's going to win and beat war to the finish line. Even though war is looking like it's going to break out everywhere immediately, this financial system right now is it's so primed and it can move so quick now. You remember back in 2008, they said they came within 2 hours of a financial meltdown. And this is what I was talking about on this show. The whole Western financial system will freeze. And it's pretty near 3 years ago, about 3 years ago. Well, it says 2 years on there, but it was pretty near 3 years ago. Uh, the whole Western. What do I mean by freeze? I mean finances move by computer now. And one bank goes down, it can trigger another bank if it's not bailed out in time. And you got all these derivatives products. And we have just had a partial, almost, it wasn't a meltdown of the system in the but I know it put the strain on it, the system, to ready it for a meltdown at this point. These massive drops in the market and this volatility that we've seen, and it's starting to translate into the bond market. Behind the scenes, the fuse might already be lit. Behind the scenes right now, and you won't know for a little while because it takes it. These things unfold. Take a look at 2008, how it kind of unfolded in stages. And that's the way this is working. It's unfolding in stages. I'm thinking to myself, hey, you know what? We could be just weeks away from a meltdown of the financial system that actually locks it up. So what does that mean, the financial system locking up? It means that you wake up some morning and you can't access your money. ATMs, nothing works. Go into the bank, tellers are all closed. They'll lock the doors. The banks, the whole banking system. If they can't do interbank lending because the system freezes up, they freeze all of you out too. Everybody gets frozen out. And this is why it's a good idea now to carry petty cash with you, because that's the only thing the stores will take while the system's frozen. Now, if the system freezes, the financial system freezes, all the markets are locked up. They have to shut down the markets. They have to shut down all the banks. And they got a problem because there's just the system was over leveraged and they had a sudden deleveraging. Basically, it's like a margin call for the entire system. and it just basically locks up and freezes because the money's not there to free it back up again. The money is like the lubricant. It operates just like a car engine. If you overheat a car engine too much and there's not enough lubricant, what happens? It'll freeze. It doesn't mean it's over for the car engine, but generally it means what you have to do is tear the car engine apart, put it all back together again, reapply the lubricant. You know, put new gaskets in it and everything. You might have to take the head off, uh, take the crank out and everything else, and relubricate everything and put it all back together again. Maybe then it'll run with it's got lubrication. In this case, lubrication in the system is the money, the liquidity. They can unfreeze the system. They have to go in and find the entities within the system that have caused the widespread bankruptcy, and it's spread from one to another, kind of like a disease within the system. And they got to remove all the rot and replace it with money, saturate it with money. Basically, pour money on everything or pour lubricant on everything, get everything running again. Then they can start up the markets again, start everything up. You know, there's been cases when they've had the market shut down for long periods of time when they get a bad problem in the system. But the problem is there's no interbank lending during that time. The banks aren't going to lend to one another. They certainly aren't going to extend you any credit or extend you any money, period. They freeze your accounts and everything until they get it all solved. Now, when that happens, if the system does an ICE 9, like Jim Rickards said, he talked about this extensively. If it freezes, turns to ice and freezes, there's going to be a panic, a huge panic, to get it back unfrozen again. I figure they got anywhere between 2 weeks and a month before chaos would break out, and then at that point, it's over. If they can't get it unfrozen in that period of time, and there's only one thing, one tool that they're going to do to unfreeze it, and that's money. They're going to pour money on it. This is probably one of the single biggest, most frightening events in world history, and I'm thinking that yes, it could have, with all the stuff that's going on right now, and the amount of leverage that's in the system, and how close they came in 2008 to it actually happening. I'm thinking that this could actually happen in the next month or two. Listen, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to be doing a show tomorrow afternoon where I'm going to be talking about uh, all the events that are occurring in the world right now, world news and stuff, and talking about what I think of it all. What I think of it all, it's all just garbage. You know, it's with garbage politicians in every country running the whole show. There's influencing factors on every time that, even if you get a well-meaning person in politics, the temptations are too much for them. Eventually, what they'll do is they'll turn to wanting two things, and two things that they want around the world. All the politicians, they want money and power. You know, and this is kind of like it taints the entire system, and it's been that way all along. Even back when we had kings and stuff, it was the same deal. Money and power, money and power. It's basically like everybody in the world's bought off by those two things that, and that's why there's so much corruption in the system. That's why we're at this point right now where the system is, it's not fair. It's not equitable. It's the people that are in the upper echelons of the system are corrupt, and they're getting stronger, more powerful, and more money and more power, and on the other people, they're that's being robbed from them, and they become poorer and poorer and poorer, and eventually, like I say, this is moving through the tiers, guys. You got tiers in society. In society, it forms people into tiers. You got lower class people who are at the bottom, and they sometimes don't have steady jobs. They are going from one thing to another. They're not real good at making money and stuff, and so they're gig workers and stuff like that. This is striking them first. High rent and everything else, and a lot of them are having to live out of their cars or whatever now at this point, striking them first. But the next tier up from that is the people who are homeowners and stuff. we've got to the point now where it's starting to really negatively affect the lower middle class, the homeowners and stuff out there who are, they're not rich or anything, far from it. Maybe they're pensioners or whatever. It's starting to really grip them now. They're starting to feel it. This is the second wave, the second tier. And soon it's going to move through them, and they'll be in the poverty list. They'll be in the same bucket as the first people who got hit with it, the gig workers and stuff. They're already in it. Soon the lower middle class will be in it, and then the next tier up, the professionals and stuff, middle class, but the little bit higher level middle class, they're gonna come next. As it washes, as the tide is rising, it's going to get everybody, unless you're rich, unless you're into that money pool, you know. And even the rich I think, are going to get hit if the market crashes hard enough. So who is going to have the wealth? Well, they're just sucking it up from everybody else. Is the ultra uber rich and stuff, and the politicians and the world leaders and they're removed from all of this. The way they look at you, you're the undesirable ones. You're the, what was that term that was used a few years ago? Uh, trying to think of that term that they used for the. But in the Middle Ages, they used terms like waifs and serfs and stuff like that, and slave is another term, and all these different terms. I consider them all derogatory terms myself. In fact, I really don't like labels for people. Even labels like a fireman or a policeman or stuff. It's a man. He's not a policeman. You're labeling him a policeman. He's a man. A fireman. He's not a fireman. He's a man, just like any other man. It just happens that he puts out fires. I don't even like labels like that, because it's a way and a system that's been used to. And now, I'm going to tell you something. I think I see a conspiracy behind this whole thing of what they call Karens, people out there. Anybody who complains, they label them a Karen, and then they can show that person disrespect because they just labeled them a Karen. This is the way things work. In World War II, they had all kinds of different derogatory. It seems around wartime they come up with a whole bunch of new derogatory terms and labels to call people that they don't like on the other side. I could name some of these names from World War II, but my video might get, if I even said some of the names that they had for World War II, for uh, oftentimes for the opposing forces. You know. Listen, I'm rambling on a little bit. Got to keep this short. I got a show to do tomorrow. You guys have a great afternoon. We'll catch you in the next show. Bye bye.